And welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 9th Feb today, and in this video we are going to solve some important questions which are very much relevant for your preparation. As usual, before we'll start our discussion, I would like to give you the brief introduction about our initiative so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically in this video, we will try to discuss various types of questions which are very much relevant for your prelims preparation. And these questions which we are going to discuss here are taken from different sources. So depending upon the sources, we can divide our discussion into three different parts. So in the first part of our discussion, we are going to discuss questions with respect to current affairs. You know what we are going to do? We are going to take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We are going to break them down into the simplest language possible, and we will try to derive the possible prelims questions from those particular articles so that it will give you the idea which part of the newspaper is important for you, what should be your approach when you are reading those news articles, and how you can expect a prelims question from those particular articles. This is what we are going to do in the first part of our discussion, and mostly the questions would revolve around this part. After solving questions with respect to current affairs, we will shift our approach to the next part of our discussion, where we will discuss some static topic based questions. You know what we will do here? Right, we will take up a static topic. Currently, we are discussing Indian polity, and in Indian polity, we are discussing the office of the president. We are about to complete the discussion with respect to office of the president, and today we are going to discuss some more legislative powers of the president. So we are going to discuss those topics and try to derive the possible prelims questions from those particular topics so that it will give the idea how the questions can be asked in the exam. After this, after solving questions with respect to static topic and the current affairs, we will shift our approach to the third part of our discussion, where we will discuss some previous year questions. This would be the last part of our discussion. To me, this is the most important part because in this part, we'll try to learn what are the different ways and methods the UPSC examiner asks us the questions, what is the vocabulary they use, how they try to repeat the same question by just changing the words, and also what are the different trends they follow, and also we'll try to learn how we can answer the question if we don't have the proper knowledge, and also how we can implement this knowledge in the upcoming exam. So this is in a nutshell what we are going to do in this video. Now, without any delay, before we'll start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel. When you subscribe, it helps the channel grow and it motivates us to work more hard on these topics, work more hard for you guys. And also please do share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative if you are getting. And please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. Now with this, without wasting any time, let's have our discussion. As you can see here on the screen, the question is with respect to fentanyl, a synthetic opioid. Fentanyl. So you may ask me a question, sir, why we had brought this question over this drug? What was the reason for that? There is definitely a reason, as it is in the news today. Basically, there is no separate article with respect to it, but it is the reason why that news is there. You would have seen in the newspaper that, and also you would had heard if you would had followed anybody on the with respect to current affairs discussion, or you would had read your newspapers, you would have heard about the tariff wars going on right now with respect to USA and its neighboring countries, especially the Canada and Mexico. you know as you might be very much aware about this, that USA has imposed, the Trump administration, they had imposed 25% tariff on the products coming from Canada and Mexico, and he has not spared China in it, and he has imposed 10% tariff 10% tariff on Chinese products. Here one thing is very much important for us to understand, that these tariff wars, they have huge impact on the global economy. And if the country thinks that they are going to bully some other country by imposing such tariff wars, they are very much, they had not read the economy properly. It does not work like that. Currently the USA, they are trying to put pressure on Canada and China and Mexico, but at the same time these countries would not stand still. What they will do, they will reimpose, they will also impose tariffs on the USA. What did the China do here? China did the same. They reimposed the tariff on the USA products, especially from the pharmaceuticals, and they had highlighted their companies as, doubtful companies. So, and also they had, in a way, they had attacked money, USA imports in their country. So this is not going in vain. This is not going. This does not work like that. They are going to impose tariffs on the country, and they will stand still. So coming back to our topic, as the Trump is imposing tariffs on different countries, especially we discussed it here, Canada, Mexico, and China. And once the reason was asked to the Trump why he is doing this, why these tariffs are there, he gave the very different reason, that there is a national emergency in the country. What is there is national emergency in the country. What is this national emergency? That, the people in our country, they are getting addicted to this fentanyl drug, and this fentanyl drug is imported to our country through illegal routes from Canada and, and Mexico, and also China is involved with this. With respect to fentanyl, you need to understand one thing. Even though the Mexico might be involved in it, Canada might be involved in it, but China has nothing to play, nothing role to play with it. It is wholly based on the perception of the Donald Trump, how he sees the countries. So this is why there is national emergency, and because of that, the fentanyl addiction in the country is going up. And also another reason for that, the immigration happening in USA, the people coming through the illegal routes to USA, they are bringing these fentanyl drugs to the USA, and they are basically, harming the people there. They are making them addict of these drugs, these, these abusive drugs. So this is the reason that Trump has given, and this is one, these are the few reasons because of which he is going to impose these tariffs on these particular countries. So this is in a nutshell what we need to know about the fentanyl, why we are discussing this question here. With this, I hope you had got the basic understanding. With respect to tariffs, we had already done our sessions, separate sessions with respect to these topics. But as here the fentanyl is the new word which was in the news today, so it becomes important for us to have a basic understanding about it. So with this, let's answer the question and see what does it say. Here the question says, with reference to the synthetic opioid fentanyl, consider the following statements. First statement, fentanyl is approximately 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times more potent than heroin. 100% correct. It is a highly abusive drug, and according to the data from, the deaths had increased tremendously because of the overdose of the fentanyl from 2010 to 2024 in USA. So, one more important thing about fentanyl is, as it is an anti-pain drug, we can say it is a painkiller kind of drug, so it is easily available in the markets for the people who abuse it. So this is one of the issue with respect to this fentanyl drug, and it is highly addictive to the people, and according to reports, it has been seen that it is more addictive to the people than heroin itself. So first statement is 100% correct. Second statement, it says it is a Schedule 2 drug under the Controlled Substances Act in the United States, indicating its high potential for abuse and addiction. 100% correct. This is true also. Then the third statement, very extreme statement, it says fentanyl is only produced illegally and has no legitimate medical use. Totally incorrect, because we saw that it can be antidepressant, it can be an painkiller. So this statement is incorrect. And also, if you have this proper, as we often talk about the elimination tricks, here I would again like to mention that whenever you will find any extreme statement, most of the times, 90% of the times, that statement is incorrect. So you can easily mark this statement incorrect here. So we are left with option 1 and option 2 only, and the correct answer to this question are these two, 1 and 2 only. So with this, I hope you had understood the question and also the topic, also the context of this question, why we had brought it here. Now with this, let's move to the another screen, another slide, and see what else we had brought for you guys. As here, the question is with respect to the barriers to private investment in India. We are discussing this topic from many weeks now. Why private investment is, it is going down in our country. What is the major reason for that private investment is going down in the country, and what the government can do with respect to this to curb this private investment. And today's why we had brought it here. Today's topic also revolved around the private investment, as the author, the title of the article was, "Is private investment expected to rise?" With respect to private investment, if we in our country, if we will divide our investments, it would come under two subcategories. One would be public investment, and another would be private investment. With respect to private investment, if we are comparing these two with respect to the last quarter, we had seen huge dip in the private investment. Its growth was minus 1.4%. So we are seeing how much dip was there in the private investment. And if we compare it with the public investment, it has shown the growth of approximately 11.8%. So we are seeing how much dip is in the private investment. And for you guys, it is very much important to understand, for the growth of the economy, this private investment plays the major role. This private investment, it plays the huge role for the growth of the economy. But about the private investment, you should understand that it works like a businessman. I will try to explain it in the simplest language possible. For example, if anybody of you want to open the shop, what kind of shop would you open? You would do your studies. You would see the marketplace. What would be the marketplace? What are the regulations of the market? Is it easy for you? What would be the taxes you would give to the market union? How much money you have to give to them? What would be the rents and all that stuff? What are the tariffs related to it? And also you would find, and finally you would decide what kind of business would you do there. Would it be agriculture based? Would it be industry based? What kind of business you would do? Would it be service related? That would depend upon the demand of the market. So demand of the market is highly important with respect to the private investment. The tariffs are highly important with respect to private investment. The regulations are highly important with respect to private investment. So here, as we had discussed, the consumption of the demand is very low in our country right now. And the reasons for that were given that the people don't have the money in their hand. They don't have money in their hand. When they don't have money in the hand, they are not ready to consume. And when they are not ready to consume, so why would a private investment happen there, when they believe that their investment is not going to give them their what they are investing, they are not getting the profit because of that. So because of these issues, there is high dip in the private investment in our country. So with respect to this, what government has tried to achieve, you would have seen from the budget itself. In the budget, you saw that how tax rebates were given, that if you are earning up to 12 lakh, then you will be given tax rebates. So that the reason for that was that people will have more money in the hand, and it would lead to the consumption demand, and finally it would lead to the private investment. And another thing you saw yesterday, we discussed that how repo rate was reduced. What is this repo rate? We discussed that how it was reduced. Now more money would be available to the banks, and they will release more money to the market, and it will definitely drive the investment in our country. And also here, one important thing which we should understand, that the private investment in our country, there was a little disturbance here. Yeah, where were we? Yeah, we were discussing about the comparison between the private investment and the public investment. One of the reason why private investment is dipping right now, that we are seeing that there is a huge role of the private and public investment in our country. We are seeing that the growth in the public investment is very huge with respect to the private investment. And where from the public investment would get money? They would get money from the taxes, and they would borrow. If they will not get money from the taxes, then they will borrow, and they will borrow from the financial market. So it will leave less space for the private investment to private companies, private investors to borrow from those companies. So this is also one of the reason why there is a low investment of the private sector in our country. So with this, I hope you had got the basic understanding. We are discussing this from last 1 or 2 weeks now. I hope you are ready to answer this question very easily. Now with this, let us have a look at the question and try to answer it. Here the question says, which of the following factors pose significant barriers to private investment in India? First statement, complex regulatory environment, 100% correct. Second statement, lack of consumption demand, 100% correct. That is what we discussed. Third statement, lack of skilled labor, one of the issue, 100% correct. Fourth statement, over public sector investment, that is also one of the issue. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are all the 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. and it would be option B would be the correct option. With this, I hope you had understood the topic here, you had understood the concept here. Now with this, let's move to the another slide and see what else we had brought. Here the question is with respect to the United States Agency for International Development. Why it is in news? Because of the Trump. You know, Trump has decided to cut 90% of its budget. You know, it used to get approximately $45 billion, and now it would be cut to the 90%, and it would approximately reach, I guess, 1 billion or below that. So there is huge dip in the budget allocated to the US aid. You know, with respect to US aid, we had discussed it, how United States used it as its soft power in investing in the global south or other countries during the post World War era, or we can say Cold War era, when, you know, US tried to align countries with themselves, and they used this platform in which they would fund the countries and show their soft power. But when the, with respect to the coming of the 47th US president, you know, the department, you know, when with respect to the coming of the 47th president and the Department of Government Efficiencies under the Elon Musk, they had decided to cut the budget because they believe that the money they are giving through this fund, it is not something which USA wants right now, because all this money is going to, according to them, going to the countries which are very much anti-USA, and they are, this money is being misused. So that's why he is cutting down the money under this aid, under this department. So with respect to this, it becomes important for us to have the basic understanding about USAID, what it is. You know, it was introduced in 1961, you should know, and with this we had already discussed this. So you know about this, it was introduced in 1961. So here what we will do, we will not just read the questions. I will make a statement here that a technique here which I believe you should know about that. In the exam, it would be very much useful for you. You know, sometimes in the exam, there are many questions about which you don't have the proper knowledge, but there are few words which are very much familiar, which you can intercept. There are few words in the questions which you can intercept, which are very much familiar, whose meaning you know. So we would, you know, what we will do in this question, we'll use a technique that the contradicting words in the statements, will use the contradicting technique. This is one technique which can be used in the exam. That, what is this contradicting words technique? That whenever two statements which are contradicting with each other, they don't come in the options. Those statements which are contradicting, all the both the two would never be correct. So this is the technique. If there are two statements, they are contradicting with each other, those two statements won't be correct. Then the answer would, those two statements would be the correct. One of them would be correct. I hope you are understanding this. For example, there is a statement here with respect to this question. I will make you understand it. Here the question says, US aid operates independently of the US Department of State, allowing for greater flexibility and responsiveness in its aid programs. This is the one statement which talks about it is independent, it works independently, it operates independently of the US Department of State. Then here is the fourth statement. It says US aid operates under the policy guidance of the Secretary of State. So these two statements, statement 2 and statement 4, they are contradictory to each other. Here one statement says it operates independently of the US Department of State. Then the fourth statement says US aid operates under the policy guidance of the Secretary of State. So what can you infer from these two statements? We can infer one thing here, that both the statements won't be correct. Either one of them would be correct. So when both the statements would be correct, then one thing you should note, that in the options here we are given with the options. In the options, whenever you will find 2 and 4 together, that option would be incorrect, because both of the two statements won't be correct. So we will apply this model, this technique here, and try to answer this. Here with respect to first statement, here we will see it is options are given 1, 2 and 4. Option 2 is there and option 4 is there, so this statement becomes incorrect. Then let's see the second statement, B statement. In this we have option 2 and option 4. This is also incorrect, because both statements can be true. Then we are with fourth statement, 1, 2, 3 and 4. It also contains both statements, so it would also be incorrect. Now what we are left with? We are left with option C, that is 1, 3 and 4 only. So this would be the correct answer to this question. This is the contradicting statement technique. I hope you had understood this technique. And also about the United States Agency for International Development, we had already discussed this. It was introduced in 1961. It was to show the soft power of US, and it was John F. Kennedy's government who introduced it then. So with this, I hope you had understood it very properly. With this, let's move to the another slide and see what else we had brought. What we had brought on the next slide. Here the question is with respect to National Mission for Manuscripts. Why we had brought this question? Because 500 crore has been allocated to this mission. 500 crore has been allocated to this mission, which is National Mission for Manuscripts. And there are few changes under which are going to happen in this mission, that this money, the activity is done under the National Mission for Manuscripts. It would be done through Sahitya Academy now. It would be done through Sahitya Academy now. So this is what you should know about this. And also it is proposed that it is the name of the National Mission for Manuscripts, it is going to change from National Mission for Manuscripts to Gyan Bharatam. So its name would be changed. The name of the mission may be changed from this to Gyan Bharatam. So this would be the name change of the National Mission for Manuscripts. So with respect to this, let's see. Here we got the basic understanding why we had discussed this, because 500 crore has been allocated. It would be allocated through Sahitya Academy, and its name may be changed in coming days from National Mission for Manuscripts to Gyan Bharatam. So this is the little nutshell behind it, is why we had brought this question. Now let's solve the question. As the first statement says, the National Mission for Manuscripts is an initiative of Ministry of Culture, Government of India, aimed at conserving and preserving India's vast manuscript heritage. 100% correct. Its mission, it is under the Ministry of Culture, and purpose, aim to conserve and preserve India's vast manuscript heritage. Second statement, the mission focuses exclusively on digitalizing ancient manuscripts and making them access online. No, it is not its primary purpose to exclusively on digitalization. It may lead to digitalization, but it is not its primary purpose. Its primary purpose is to conserve and preserve India's vast manuscript heritage, not to digitalize it. So it is not it does not focus exclusively on digitalization. So this statement is incorrect. Third statement, third statement says the National Mission for Manuscripts collaborates with various institutions, including libraries, museums, and universities, to achieve its objective. 100% correct. Fourth statement, the mission's activities include documentation, cataloging, conservation, and dissemination of knowledge related to manuscripts. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, what are the correct statements? Statement 1, statement 3, and statement 4. And from the code given below, the correct code would be option B. Also here you could apply the technique, as once we found it, the option B is incorrect, because it was very much extreme statement, exclusively on digitalization. We could have marked it incorrect, and by marking option 2 incorrect, we could have marked option A incorrect, option C incorrect, and option D incorrect. So these are few techniques which we learn by solving these questions. These questions are not just about getting the knowledge, even though these are from the current affairs itself, but here also you learn what are the different techniques by which we can solve these questions. With this, let's move to the last question from the current affairs which we had brought today. After that, we will shift our approach to the static part. Here the question is with respect to the sources of carbon dioxide. Why we had brought this question? Because the reason for that was, there was a study about the soil, that how usually when there is a constant climatic conditions, the carbon dioxide produced by the soil is very much understood. But if there is certain change in the particular region, for example, it would rain uneven, and then it will have dry season, then again rain uneven, then what would happen to that particular place? It will start releasing more carbon dioxide, and it will finally lead to the global warming. This is the whole issue why we had brought this question here. Now it becomes important for us to understand what are the different sources through which the carbon dioxide is introduced or emitted in the atmosphere. You have to realize the words of the question here. What does it want to say? The excess of carbon dioxide. Here the question says, which of the following are significant sources of carbon dioxide emissions in the atmosphere? So what does it mean that the carbon dioxide level increases? It is not talking about the natural balance of the carbon dioxide, which the natural balances itself, because of it would, this question is talking about those sources which would impact the carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere. Now let's answer this question. First statement, burning of fossil fuels, coal, oil and natural gas for energy production, 100% correct. This is true. Second statement, deforestation and land use change, it 100% leads to the excess release of carbon dioxide. Third statement, industrial processes like cement manufacturing, 100% correct. Fourth statement, volcanic eruptions and natural geological process, 100% correct. Now we are left with fifth statement, respiration by plants and animals. Most of you guys would think that it is also true, because through respiration what we release carbon dioxide. But guys, it is incorrect, because here it is basically talking about what are the sources which increase the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Through respiration, even though it releases CO2, but it is countered by the photosynthesis. This process is countered by the photosynthesis, though it does not lead to significant sources of carbon dioxide emissions into atmosphere. So this option becomes incorrect. Even though it does release CO2, but it is not the significant source of carbon dioxide emission into the atmosphere. So with respect to this question, what are the correct answers, correct options? Option 1 is correct, option 2 is correct, option 3 and option 4 are correct. So we are left with option B. With this, we complete our discussion with respect to current affairs. Now let's move to the static part and see what we had brought today. As here we are discussing the powers of the president. With respect to the parliament, we are discussing now the legislative powers. We had discussed his military powers, executive powers, his mercy powers. We had discussed his election. We had discussed what is the quota for his election. We had discussed everything related to that. Now we are left with the legislative powers of the president. In the legislative powers of the president, or parliamentary powers of the president, there are few bills which, when introduced, they need the prior recommendation of the president. So here we need to know what are those bills which need the prior recommendation of the president. I would highlight here first, these are the introduction of a bill related to the formation of a new state. If there is a bill related to the formation of a new state, then for that bill the president's prior recommendation is needed for the formation of the new state, or alteration of areas, boundaries or names of the existing states. If you want to alter the area, alter the boundaries of the any existing state or name of the existing state, or you have to form the new state by merging the two states, then you would need the presidential prior recommendation of the president is needed. Second, if you want to introduce the money bill, for that you would need the president's prior recommendation. If you want to introduce the financial bill A, which is under Article 117, you would need the presidential prior recommendation of the president. And also, if any bill, introduction of a bill or moving of an amendment affecting taxation in which states are interested, or changing the definition of agriculture income, then if the states, if you want to introduce the bill which affect the taxation or the agriculture, then the presidential prior recommendation of the president is required for such bills. So this is the nutshell about the prior recommendations of the president with respect to bills where the parliament would need the prior recommendation of president. So here we will solve the question and get more idea about it. Here the question says, which of the following types of bills require the prior recommendation of the president before being introduced in the parliament? First statement, money bill, 100% correct, under Article 110. Please note that. Finance bills, under Article 117. We would need the presidential accent first. Presidential prior recommendation is needed. Bills affecting the taxation or the agriculture income, 100% correct. This statement is true for these bills. You would need president's recommendation. Third, bills related to the creation of or alteration of states or union territories, 100% correct. For such bills, you would need the president's recommendation. Fourth, bills relating to the imposition of restrictions on the fundamental rights, no, for them it is not required. And also I would tell you here that For example, the parliament wants to amend the constitution. Do you think for the amendment of the constitution is president's prior recommendation required? No, it is not required. So these are few bills which need the prior recommendation of the president, and we had brought everything here. Now with respect to this question, what is the correct answer? Correct answer would be option 1, 2 and 3 only. With this we are done with the static part 2. Now let's shift our approach to the last part of our discussion, where we will solve a previous year question. Here the previous year question is about the westerlies. As the question says, westerlies in the southern hemisphere are strong and persistent than in northern hemisphere. And what is the reason? First statement, southern hemisphere has less land mass as compared to the northern hemisphere. 100%. Whenever there is land mass, the speed of these westerlies go down, and because of that, they are not that strong in the northern hemisphere, as there is more land mass there as compared to the southern hemisphere. So first statement is correct. Second statement, Coriolis force is higher in the southern hemisphere as compared to the northern hemisphere. No. About Coriolis force, remember one thing: at the equator it is nil, but when it goes away from the equator, the Coriolis force increases. At the poles, the Coriolis force is highest. So the second statement is also incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statement would be option 1 only. So with this we complete today's discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. If I had tried my best to explain every concept which we had brought today. If I lacked anywhere, please do write in the comments. We'll try our best to cover that. And also one more thing I would like to add here, that as you saw, we discussed questions with respect to current affairs. We discussed questions with respect to the static topics, like from Indian polity right now we are discussing. We discussed previous year question, and we discussed various techniques which are used to solve the questions for whom you don't have the knowledge. So this is very unique initiative here. And what else did we discuss? We discussed the news analysis too, because while solving these questions, we give you the news analysis why we are discussing these questions. So we are solving the questions and getting the news analysis, coming to know about what is happening, which is related to your preparation. So how would it impact your preparation? When your exams are near, I'm talking about, your exams would be most probably on 25th of May. So in the month of May, what would you do? You would want to revise everything. It is human tendency. You would want to go through the current affairs of the year, the static part, the previous year questions, but time would not permit you. You would feel depressed, you will feel underconfident, and this is the least thing you want in the exam. So what should you do? If you had watched this video, what you should do, you should note down these questions, develop your own question bank. When you would reach in the month of May, what you will do, you would just revise these questions. These questions would connect you with the current affairs. They will connect you with the static part. They will connect you with the previous year questions, and it is going to boost your confidence. And also, as you are solving the questions, so you are getting the habit of solving the questions before entering the exam hall. And also, one more thing I would like to add here, that what our sources are. It is the same source which the UPSC is going to use. So there are high chances that many questions can coincide in the exam. Suppose if not the questions, they will not use, they may use. Suppose let's assume that no question would coincide, but trust me, statements would coincide. If not the statements either, trust me, I swear these would be the concepts from which they are going to ask you the questions. Where else would they go? This is the trend. This is what they follow. So I would like to request you guys, please note down these questions for your sake. With this, I would like to thank you guys for staying with me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.